went to the trans rights rally in Edinburgh. I say we, about 7 members of the Scottish Family Party came along. We weren't trying to be a crowd, we just needed a few people to hold placards, so we didn't publicise it on social media. So just a few of us, we gave out some leaflets and held some placards, as you will see. Now, our presence at this rally was reported by the national newspaper, using that term in the loosest sense of the word. And they didn't show any pictures of our placards because, well, that maybe wouldn't quite suit, but they described them as expressing transphobic sentiments. So we had 4 placards. Do you want to hear these transphobic sentiments? Here's the first one. Dear SNP, you don't own our kids. Pretty transphobic, eh? Next one. Integrity, decency, truth. I mean, that sounds like a standalone hate crime to me, transphobic hate crime. The next one, a man can't become a woman, simple. Now, that's a pretty challenging one, isn't it? That's just striking at the heart of transgender ideology. The National thinks that's transphobic. And the last one we had said this, said, teaching a dangerous ideology to children, then keeping the harm done secret from parents is just evil. What that's talking about, obviously, is this policy in schools where changing gender is presented as normal, natural and healthy, and pupils are led down that road. And then when the harm's done, as a consequence, the school will not even tell the parents what is going on. And we think that's just so wrong. Anyway, the national newspaper said they were transphobic, but they avoided actually showing the signs because they thought maybe if people saw the signs, they might think, well, actually, that's quite reasonable. Anyway, so why did we go? Why did we go to these trans so-called rights rallies? Some people might say, these are vulnerable, confused people. The last thing they need is, being challenged and provoked like that. I can sort of see that point. Now, I was talking to someone the other day who struggled with gender confusion, has had episodes of taking on a transgender identity, but they regard that as a really negative thing, something they've fought against, something they've hopefully moved beyond and now resolved in their life. And so, yeah, these people need support and care and encouragement. But what we're dealing with here is it's not a therapy group. These are political campaigners outside the Parliament. So if they're going with one message, we can go with the contrary message. They can't claim to be their own human shields. And so, you can't criticise us because, we're in a difficult situation. They're wanting the law to change in a way that they want it to change. And they're also wanting their message, their ideology, to be taught to children, which it already is, to encourage more young people down the path that they've already trod. So we're there to show dissent, and just, I don't know about you, but I find it so frustrating. You see these things, and do you sometimes just wish that there'd be someone saying something else? Just wish there'd be some indication that not everyone agrees with this. Well, that's what we're there for. We're there to make it clear that this is not just something everyone agrees with, this is something that's controversial. And we're there to film as well. You never know what you might end up catching on video. So our big placard, a man can't become a woman, simple. I mean, it was brilliant. That was held up very high behind their speakers, and it was basically the backdrop to their speakers. Every speaker that spoke, if you're watching the speaker, you'd also see in the background our great big placard, a man can't become a woman, simple, which I thought was brilliant, really good. Now, also, I engaged in a little spot of heckling. I tend to think with an outdoor political event, if you chip in sometimes, see if you can get some interaction with the speaker, I think is okay. I would never want to make noise or keep interrupting so the person couldn't speak. If someone's holding an outdoor event, then they can hold their event, they can speak to their audience, and I don't want to stop them doing that. On the other hand, you can interact a bit. If some people cheer, then I can throw in some contrary viewpoints, let's say. And if they interact with it, then so much the better. So I chipped in at a few points. The speakers, they are quite often difficult to hear, let alone record. But the speaker here, he was making the point that some people are not right behind so-called transgender rights. They don't accept transgender ideology. And he was saying the problem with them is they're a bit ignorant. They just need educating. And if they're as educated as us on the issue, then they would all agree with us, was his basic point. So I just said that I thought that was a very arrogant point of view. And then generally suggesting you hold your point of view because you're of superior level of knowledge or intellect or whatever is, it's pretty clearly arrogant. That's really arrogant to say that. That's really arrogant. So we'll now move on to the Green MSP, Maggie Chapman.
The reform of the Gender Recognition Act, as it is currently formulated, is only a start. We have an awful lot more to do. We wait to see exactly how many of the additional requirements I want to see in that bill get passed. But more importantly, I think, we see this as the start. We know that we have a lot of work to do to ensure that non-binary people are properly recognised.
So she's saying there that the Gender Recognition Act reform that's coming through, which is completely wrong, so that people can just change gender by signing a piece of paper, basically, from age 16 upwards. She's saying the problem with it is it doesn't go far enough. It will never go far enough for the Greens. It doesn't include non-binary people. So you can go to male to female, but you can't go from male to who knows what else, maybe any of the 80, 100, 150, whatever different genders there are. So they want what, in my humble opinion, a sort of wacky gender ideology. They want it enacted into law so that you can be formally, legally classified as twin spirit or whatever the strange gender you want to identify as.
Stirred up maybe by fear or ignorance, but more likely by hatred and bigotry.
Now she's also taken the line that, people who disagree, people who object, it's normally through fear. They're cowards. They're just frightened of things they don't understand. Or ignorance, I've talked about that already. But she said more likely hatred or bigotry. So the reason people say, whoa, we don't like this idea, this whole ideology of transgenderism, changing gender, we don't think it's helpful, we don't think it's right, then she thinks that's an expression most likely of hatred and bigotry. So I offered the opinion that actually it was most likely motivated by truth.
We will not let you be weaponised as part of this culture war. We are better than that. Scotland stands against transphobia. Scotland stands for trans rights. And
also Maggie Chapman was saying, these people are trying to use you in a culture war. We're better than that. We don't want to be in a culture war. Having already been saying and continuing to say afterwards, we need to fight for this. We've got to fight for this. The fight continues. We've got to fight for this right. We've got to fight against this. We've got to fight. But those people on the other side, they want a war. They're really bad people. We don't want a war. We just want to fight. Not quite sure how that fits together. Now, with regard to a culture war, do I want a culture war? Absolutely. Not because I particularly like fighting, because at the moment, the reason there's not a culture war in Scotland is that on a lot of issues, there's only one side fighting and the other side's just given up, waving the white flag, just continual retreat. So fight back will create a war. Now, I've seen someone saying the other day, when did the war in Ukraine start? Did it start when the Russian tanks rolled over the border? Well, you could say, no, it didn't. The war started when the Ukrainians started fighting back. So if that's the definition of war, so do we want a culture war? Absolutely.
I just want to say it's events like this 8 years ago, when I was thinking about coming out as trans, that gave me the push and the pull to finally take that courage of coming out, accepting who I am, and medically transitioning and taking reality into my own hands. It is events like this that did that, and it's events like this that will do that for other trans people.
Now I've got someone there talking about taking reality into their own hands. Can you really take reality into your own hands? Can you really bend reality according to your own will? I'm not sure that's the way reality works, to be honest. But also talking here about the way that this sort of event will encourage others down this dangerous, sad road of gender change.
The group that came to confront us today are anti-conversion therapy ban, they're anti-equal marriage, and they're anti-abortion as well. It is our bodies and it is our choice.
So at this point, the speaker turned to the Scottish Family Party people holding up the placards, and it's quite hard to hear what he or she is saying because of their own drumming. But they basically said the Scottish Family Party oppose a conversion therapy ban. I called out, yes, we're pro-freedom. We think people should be free to pursue their own goals in life and to seek counselling on whatever journey they choose for themselves. They said that we're against same-sex marriage, which is not actually true. Lots of people assume that, but we don't actually have a policy on same-sex marriage. And then they said, we're anti-abortion, which is absolutely true. Yeah, we defend the rights of unborn children. But it's quite interesting at these events. Like, abortion seems to be part of the package deal. The package deal of so-called progressivism is transgender rights and it's abortion. They go together as part of the same deal. Now, I tried to chat to a few people around the events, didn't really get very far. But one of our representatives, Charles McEwen, had a chat with a couple of people. Here's a little clip from that.
It's hard to accept, but yeah, I find it really weird. But he is happier, and I have to accept that. It's not my choice.
When did you decide? What age were you when you decided to change? Have you had the surgery?
I told you I'm having it in 3 weeks.
Sorry?
I'm having it in 3 weeks. Really excited.
And yeah, I'm not excited, but it's his choice, and he is happier. Even his old name.
Well, I have to say I'm disappointed because, quite honestly, I think you're as good as you are. And
so you'd rather have depressed?
No, I'm not.
Well, as Charles was indicating there, that side was there. I mean, that's a young person saying in 2 weeks' time they're going to have irreversible surgery based on this, fad? I mean, in some senses, I would say it's almost like a cult that sucks people in. And it's really sad that people are being affected like that. Now, these people need to be supported to work through these issues, but instead they're being sucked into this ideology that points them in a different direction. And it's a disgrace to the NHS in Scotland that the NHS has also been sucked in by this cult and is performing procedures on the basis of its beliefs. Now, after the event, when people were just dispersing, I had a chat to some of the police. There were quite a lot of police there. There was about 10 police officers, I would say. I just went up to one of them and had a chat. I said, just to say, if you could pass this on to your superiors, that they might be interested. I said, we've been here like counter-protesting, if you like, at this protest. But when we do that, we should know that the police are actually neutral. The police are not on one side or another, the police are neutral. But actually, I know that that's not the case because the police, through their public statements, through their social media, through their other activities, they make it quite clear which side of this argument are on. The police are on the side of so-called transgender rights and the ideology of transgenderism. The police are right behind that 100%. And I said to the police officer, I shouldn't have to feel that. I shouldn't have to feel that I'm on the wrong side as you're concerned. I should feel that you're neutral. You're just here to maintain order and supervise the event. Police officer said, oh yeah, we're not partial, we're not partial. I said, no, I'm not suggesting that. I said, I think everything that's happened today has been absolutely fine. I said, normally as well, when I speak to police officers or deal with police officers on the ground, they're normally great, absolutely reasonable, very fair and even-handed. But it seems to be when you go up the chain a little bit, then the politicisation comes in. And the police officer said to me that, yes, he could see my point. I think he probably would have liked to say a bit more than he did. But he certainly was saying he could see my point. So I asked him to pass it up the chain. Maybe he will. Now, this was a cross-party event. It was the Lib Dems, the Greens, Labour and the SNP. The Conservatives were missing. Why were the Conservatives missing? Well, partly because these events generally focus on left-wing politics. And the people who organise them, that they hate the Tories, so they'll leave them out. It's not particularly because they disagree with any of the transgender things. It's just that they're anti-Tory, if you like. But where do the Scottish Conservatives stand on the transgender issue? Well, I think they oppose the Gender Recognition Act, but they still think there should be a Gender Recognition Act. I mean, what's going on in schools, I think, is the most concerning thing. Children are being indoctrinated into transgender ideology. Where are the Conservatives about that? Scottish Conservatives, nowhere. I mean, UK Conservatives as well. Not really much happening there either. I mean, Liz Truss has been quoted as saying, is a trans woman a woman? And she said no. Now I say to that, okay, fine. You might think that plays well to your supporters, but the fact is, in the United Kingdom, a trans woman is a woman because that's what the law says. The law says that a trans woman is a woman. Okay? So if Liz Truss really means that, then one of her first priorities should be repealing the Gender Recognition Act from 2004. That's what all this stems from. A law was passed that says a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man officially legally. So if Liz Truss thinks that isn't the case, then it's time to repeal that. If she doesn't look at repealing that, how serious is she? Well, I don't think she's really very serious at all. I tried to chat to a few other people in the crowd. Didn't get very far, to be honest. They just sort of look at you with disdain. You try and start some sort of discussion. You invite intelligent arguments, but it's really not their scene. But one person said to me, look, we're young and you people are old, so you're all going to die and then we're going to take over, so that's it. So we're going to win. Well, that obviously doesn't make you right. On current trajectory, that's maybe not an unreasonable projection. Another person said to me, yeah, but look how people vote. People vote for the parties that are right behind us. And I thought, you're right. What can I say to that? People in Scotland do vote for parties that are either, I would say, so trans ideology extremists or trans ideology wet middle of the roads, don't quite know what they think, timid, don't really challenge it. They're the parties that get the vast majority of votes in Scotland. And as long as that continues, then the trans ideology juggernaut will continue in Scotland as well. So the Scottish Family Party, we're here to challenge that. This is one of the areas that we want to bring into the centre of Scottish political debate. If you want to support us in that, do join the Scottish Family Party, become a member right now. And who knows, maybe you could be a candidate for us in a forthcoming election and get involved. But the first step, say follow the link below and join the party. Right, thanks for watching.